Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So, hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up, and this is actually coming to you a week late. This is for week 30, which is July 23rd through July 29th. This previous week will actually be going up tomorrow, so you'll be getting 2 weekly wrap ups back to back because, well, you know, that's how it goes, guys, because it's not fucking confusing at all. So, well, if you'd like to know what I was reading last week, or the week prior, I guess, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, let's get talking some books. Okay, so yes, this is from July 23rd through July 29th and all my reading shenanigans in between, so we are kind of a week behind, but you will be getting this past week, which was July 30th through August 8th, no, August 5th. You'll get that tomorrow. So you will be getting 2 weekly wrap-ups this week. Yeah, it's not confusing at all, guys. It's not confusing at all. Sorry. But I've got some stuff to talk about, and I want to talk about it, so let's get talking. So the first book I completed 2 weeks ago was Illicit Education by Jessalyn Jamison. It looks like this. This was 3 stars. This was the first installment to the Intern Submission Duology, and I read it for the ABCs of Love Read Along. This was a few months back. This was the selection for a few months back, but because it was taken off of Kindle because she created a duology version of it, she re-released it just this past month, and we were able to actually finally read it. We do feature BDSM, office romance. We have a CEO-intern relationship, sex club. Yeah, we got a sex club in this one. Woohoo! Dominant submissive dynamic with spanking and whipping. So, summary, we follow Raylan and Cabot. Raylan earns an internship at one of the most popular romance publishing companies, and on her first day, she makes an impression that's pretty hard to fucking forget. She's in an elevator, and this gorgeous, gorgeous man, basically, in her mind, insults her love of romance, and she tells him what for. Well, turns out that that chance encounter happened to put Cabot, our hero of the story, on put her on his radar, and he's the CEO that hired her. Surprise. Yeah. So we start this off really fucking fun. This had a lot of promise going into it. Raylan's internship is unpaid, so she has to get a part-time job, and she gets one at a lingerie company, or a lingerie kind of adult shop that is also the entryway to a BDSM sex club, which is actually underneath. And she, on her first time down there trying to get acclimated and kind of figure out what's going on, she runs into, lo and behold, her boss for a second awkward encounter meeting, except now she's not the one who's kind of caught off guard. She is, but not as badly. So this is where our story kicks off. So what worked? The original plotline. The original plotline worked. I liked the intern CEO angle with a sex club dynamic. I thought that was fantastic. I was really excited. This one, out of all the installments we read for the ABCs of Love Read Along so far, had literally the most promise. The writing was probably the strongest out of all of them. So this one, I was in it. And once I was reading it, I couldn't put it down. Like, I was just engrossed in it. I was super, super excited. I loved Jamison's intensity of introduction, the way she introduced every single character and their meetings to each other. The way she wrote those scenes they were very, very intense. Not as intense as At Her Command, because that was intensity throughout the entire of the story, but these scenes of where our hero and heroine encounter each other in their respective realms was dope. It was dope. The atmosphere, I felt very, very engrossed in. I felt engrossed in the characters, the internal workings of the characters. We have Raylan kind of giggle when she's nervous, which is a trait that I have. So I really, really appreciated that one. I really liked the way she introduced her characters to each other. I thought it was fun. It made the story really entertaining and kind of gave me like, oh my God, I'm going to finally get a fucking good one. This is going to be awesome. Yay. We're going to get a good one. I really, really enjoyed it. The elevator scene where we actually meet them for the first time, the intensity of looking at each other's reflections in the elevator, not actually looking at each other, just having that other layer of kind of mystery involved where they still actually haven't looked at each other's facial expressions, like face to face. It's just through reflective surfaces. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And then the sex club, the masking element, not really knowing exactly who, but having an idea, but yet still seeing more of just the face, getting intimate, acquainted with some of the more physical attributes of some of our characters. I was dope, dude. It was dope. The beginning of this book was on fucking point. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it very, very much so. I also really enjoyed the friendship element that Raylan has with her friend Greer. Really enjoyed that. I've got friends that remind me so much of Greer. Like, I was like, yeah, you could be part of my friend group. This was awesome. I really enjoyed that dynamic because it wasn't just there to have a friend. It was actually fleshed out. She was part of the story. She got integrated, especially in the third act dilemma. I guess you could say dilemma. I don't want to say it's a breakup because this is a start to a duology and it's a carryover. So there is a cliffhanger ending in this, just a heads up. It was really, really well done. I had a good time with the friendship for sure. What didn't work? So, like I said, this book had a lot of promise. And so promise entails that this could have been something really special. And then the author did something that, I wasn't okay with, and neither was my co-host Jen over at the Book Refuge. We've already discussed this book in our live show, and we both had an issue with this. And this was the original dismissal of the sub. When we meet Cabot in the sex club, he already has a submissive dynamic relationship intact already. And the way he dismisses her was just kind of dirty. It was kind of bullshit. Cabot is laid out to be this character that follows all the rules, the consent is very important, the rule following is very important, but yet he literally breaks every single one of his own rules. Every single one of them. So without spoiling the story, he just kind of dismisses his sub very, very quickly, and he doesn't take care of her the way that he probably should. It's spoken like he's going to, but it never actually is. And if it was, we never saw it. And then he gets called out on it later. So that tells me he actually didn't take care of her at all. And it wasn't just the author neglected to write that kind of scene. This was going to be an issue. And so that really tainted him for me. I really enjoyed Cabot at first until that kind of came to fruition and we realized that he didn't actually take care of her. He just talked a big game and didn't back it the fuck up. So that's always depressing. Yeah. And he turns out to be kind of a hypocrite. I mean, literally he lays out all these rules, no internal dating at work. He's taking over the company from his father. It'll look bad. There's an age gap. You don't mess around with people at work, with your intern when he's, the CEO. Also, you don't just drop your sub. You have to, he breaks literally every single fucking rule he states he has. He breaks it every single one of them. So that just kind of ruined him for me. It wasn't a pleasant time. Had a lot of promise though. Just all the hypocrisy was kind of, boo. It sucked on that. There was a lot of similarity to 50 Shades of Grey, down to the jabs that they take at each other. I mean, Raylan falls out of an elevator. Anastasia falls out of the elevator into Grey's office. The Red Room of Pain. Yeah, he fucking has one. There was just and the description of the previous sub was very similar to Christian Grey's previous subs. That is a big bone of contention in the 50 Shades of Grey book if you've not read them. So there's just a lot of similarities, a little too many for my liking. I've read BDSM books that have no comparison to 50 Shades of Grey because 50 Shades of Grey is not the Bible. There's a lot of stuff wrong with it. So I just kind of was depressed when I started seeing those similarities. If I had seen a similarity but was like a knock at it, then I probably could have tolerated it, but it was just kind of almost copy paste. So this is something that may or may not bother you. It bothered me because I like BDSM books. I really enjoy that dynamic in my romances because I think that dynamic is fascinating. I think the power exchange is a fantastic subject to talk about, especially between men and women. I think it's phenomenal, especially in today's age. It's just very, very intriguing to me. BDSM books have always intrigued me. And when I have a BDSM book that goes into such great detail about the consent and the rules, I enjoy this. But then I want the follow through in the actual scenes. When the romance between our hero and heroine start, yes, we have some BDSM scenes, but we don't have any of the detail that we had with the one BDSM scene with the previous sub. There's a whipping scene, and that scene is very detailed. Like I said, it's very intense. She's literally watching him, and the aftercare scene, and just this intensity of the whippings and how he's bringing this girl to climax by just whipping her was fucking dope. It was dope. I didn't see that again for the rest of the fucking book. And I didn't see it with our hero and heroine together. I saw it with our hero with somebody else who I'm not supposed to fucking give a shit about because she's not important. At least we don't think she's supposed to be important. We want these two together. And we don't get that intense, I don't get that intense BDSM. We get this training scene where he's offering class on shibari, which is a type of rope bondage. It's very ornate and intricate rope bondage. And I get to see none of the fucking detail. Have you ever seen shibari? Look the shit up, okay? It's fucking gorgeous. It really is. Just make sure you're not around anybody who's like underage because you're gonna find nudity, straight up. But it's gorgeous. And the knots and the placements, I mean, you can create some beautiful, beautiful images with these knots and ropes. And I got to see none of the fucking detail. I got to be told that her leg was tied to a chair and her arms were together. That's the fucking detail you give me after giving me this really intense whipping scene with something I don't give a fuck about? Get fucked, lady. Come on. Give me that detail with the people that are supposed to fucking matter to me. That really pissed me off. That really annoyed me a lot. And, it aggravated me. It aggravated me a lot. As for a spice rating for this, I gave this a 2.5 chili peppers because we did see some BDSM techniques, along with a lot of rules and regulation scenes, which I did really enjoy that discussion element because I believe that the consent conversations are very important and you have to have them, but they weren't really integrated very well for me. They were kind of flat points of the book. There weren't many flat points of this book for me because in the beginning, she wrote with this intensity that just kind of sucked me in and never really let me go, but the intensity did start to wane. But it was those discussion of rules and regulation scenes that kind of, if I wanted to break away and I need to go do something, those were the times where I felt the most comfortable doing it because they weren't holding me as much as I've seen other books do it. And it's even commented by the heroine that she's like, I'm tired of reading fucking paperwork. Let's just get to the slap and tickle fun parts. Like, I'm tired of reading. Let's go. So I kind of related to the heroine a little bit in those scenes, and I thought that was kind of fun. The next book I read, also for the ABCs of Love Read Along, was Nookie by Lane Martin. Looks like this. I gave this thing 2 stars. 2. I only give it 2. It features alcoholism, child abuse, bullying, clythrophobia, which is the fear of being trapped. So the interesting mental disorder to, or an interesting phobia to have in a story that I haven't read before. And it's kind of like a childhood friends to enemies to lovers sort of storyline. So we follow Celeste and Nate. They are childhood friends, and they found that their friendship was really, really important to each other because of everything that they were going through in their home life. So they developed their childhood friendship through mutual trauma. Essentially, is what their friendship was based off, was trauma. Celeste goes away and then comes back again, and then Nate graduates high school. So there's this back and forth. They start very, very young, and then they have high school, and then Nate goes away to go off to college, and Celeste has stayed home. She didn't go to school her senior year. She homeschooled, and she just pretty much stayed in the town while Nate went off and did things. He was on a reality show, and that was a huge fucking failure. He was humiliated publicly, but he's a self-made millionaire through his own little, I believe it was like a construction company kind of deal. But Nate eventually comes back to work on his childhood home because it's an old historical home. And Celeste has been writing him because she is the Historical Society, Preservation Society, saying you need to come and take care of this home, blah, 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 all these things. And he finally listens to letters to come home, not realizing this is his Celeste that he remembers. He didn't realize that this was really her. But when he comes back, he finds out that Celeste has been dictated or deemed the crazy cat lady of the city because she has a cat shop, and her cat, Tinkerbell, or Tink, I think is what his name was, has like 1 million followers on Instagram, YouTube, because she does cat videos. She's the crazy cat lady, and that's how she kind of like sustains herself. But Nate comes back to work on the house, and immediately Celeste is mad at him for some imagined slight that happened in high school that Nate has no fucking idea what she's talking about. So through the entire story, Nate doesn't understand why Celeste pretty much hates him but still is attracted to him. And so there's this really weird tug and pull. He just wants her, and she wants him, but she is upset with him for something that happened fucking years ago that he has no idea about, but she doesn't realize he has no idea about because it was all a made-up story. Yeah, sound convoluted and kind of like high school, because it fucking is, okay? It fucking is. What worked? Tink, the cat. I liked him. I thought he was cool. He was almost like a little character of himself. They talked to each other. Like, they had the conversations. I'm a cat person, so I liked the cat. The cat was nice. I did enjoy the ability that our author gave Nate. There was a scene where we learn about Celeste's clitrophobia. I think it's how you pronounce it. I'm not quite sure how I pronounce it. And he is able to calm her. And I really like how he was holding her and saying, no, you need to talk to me, calm down. And he talked her through it. He didn't just immediately be like, you're a freak, what the fuck is wrong with you? He worked he helped work her way through it. And she's had this her entire life. So the fact that he didn't know about this was kind of shocking. And when he did find out about it, he still worked his way through it. And then when they finally went on their first date and she explained what was going on, he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he tried to rework the surprise where it wouldn't trigger her. And she was like, I'm okay. You know, he was very conscious of her disorder, which I really appreciated having that characteristic of him. What didn't work? The writing. This thing jumped back and forth so many times. I felt like I legit was missing something. And both me and Jen said the same thing in our live show. And I'll have that live show linked in the down box below for you guys, so you can go check it out if you've not seen it. It felt like we were missing something. Like, I would go back and be like, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. And I go back and read the previous couple pages. I'm like, no, I didn't miss anything. She just jumped to like fucking what? You were just mad at him. Why are you just making it? What the fuck is going on? I genuinely felt lost and confused for most of this book because of the jumping back and forth. And it wasn't really working together. It wasn't executed well. It just wasn't. Jumps can be executed quite well. I've seen it done well in other books, but this one was not. And it hindered the whole, it seriously tainted the whole reading experience. I almost didn't finish this book because it bothered me so fucking much. It did. Like, I don't DNF books very often, but when I am literally reading 4 pages and then feel like I've lost like 3, like I feel like I have lost stuff every 4 fucking pages or every 5 fucking pages, it becomes a pattern. Get fucked on that. I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting my time. But it was my read along, so I did it. And yeah, it never got alleviated. It never made sense why she did that. She just did it, and it was dumb. I did not like Celeste's quick emotional changes. I mean, you want to talk about hormonal. Holy shit. This girl went from this to this, like nothing. And it made no sense why. There was no triggering element. There was nothing. It's just she went from super nice and quiet to get fucked, dude. What? It was just all over the place. There is a point where she is in mid-fucking sex, and she's like, nope, I'm done, I gotta stop. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You initiated this. You came over to his house, walked across the fucking street, butt-ass naked, into his fucking house while he was taking a shower. You initiated this shit, and in the middle of it, you're gonna have a fucking episode and see him say something that he never fucking said 12 fucking years ago and freak the fuck out? What? You need help. You need help. The crazy cat lady, she might have not actually... She was a crazy cat lady. She might just have had like a bajillion cats, but she was crazy and she had cat. Crazy cat lady totally fit her. Just saying. It worked. It worked for her. Crazy cat lady fit it out. And I've already said this, like she was hating him and then making out in the same sentence. That literally happened like twice. She would say some snarky mean comment and then kiss him and then fucking walk away. I'm like, wow. I mean, I've seen that in movies. And I don't like it in movies either. I think it's kind of dumb. And I think it's dumb in this book too. I just was like, this is stupid. Like, you hate him this much. Why the fuck are you wasting your time? Move the fuck on. It was high school. Yeah. I did not like her reason for disliking Nate. And when it comes right down to it, it was because she got a nickname. The book is called Nookie. That's her nickname. One guy in high school made a fucking joke at her expense and said the only reason he keeps you around is at least somebody's getting some nookie. That was why you hated this guy and kind of did this whole crazy thing for years. Like, are you, what? You got called a fucking name. Do you know how much I got made fun of in high school? Jesus Christ. Everybody gets made fun of in high school. And it was one time. It was one time. It was one statement, and people kept calling her that, and she couldn't handle it. So she stopped going to school. I did not like this. I did not like this at all. I understand that bullying is a problem, but I did not like the way she had her character handle it. I felt that she wasn't very strong. She didn't even try to stand up for herself. She didn't try to say anything. And then we still see this same bully who becomes a cop. But see, the thing about this instance is we don't find out this instance until later on in the story. But the way that this villain guy is written, I thought it was something a lot more traumatic and a lot more fucking serious. It is written like it was almost sexual assault had happened. Like, it was, like, she's visibly shaking and terrified of this man. She is scared, genuinely scared of this man. And it was because of a rumor he made up in high school. And she never one time thought to ask Nate why he said what he said. She just hated him for it. So she didn't trust her friend. She didn't stand up for herself. And the villain was written to be a lot darker than what he actually was. So I felt like this book wanted to do a lot more, and it just didn't convey it at all. I was not a fan of this one. Not a fan. Not a fan. I gave this thing 2 chili peppers because the sex scenes weren't really anything to write home about, because she interrupted mid-sex scene and left. All right. Cool. Party. The one sex scene you actually give me and you interrupt it by having one of the parties freak out and say, I can't do this, I'm leaving, in the middle of it. You might as well just fade to black that. You might have just done a fade to black on that and then talked about it later, because that was a waste of my time. The next book I read was for my Red Witch and Bitchin' book club, and I listened to this on audio. This was Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRoe, the first installment to the Souls trilogy. I really wanted to like this book. I wanted to like this so fucking much, and I didn't. Oh my God. I will write in the box below who narrated this, because I don't remember off the top of my head who narrated it. But I wasn't a fan of the audiobook either. So we do feature sadomasochism and masochism in this. That's the big kink in this for sure. We also have a degrading kink. We show some fear play. We have CNC with a safe word. Hand necklaces galore. Holy shit, if you like a hand necklace, you'll like this, because it's all the fucking time. Plus we have breath play involved. We have sex toys. We have a sexualized piercing session. We have graphic sexual situations and demonology. So literally, I just read you off a shit ton of shit that I am like, I want to fucking love this book. I'm so excited. I am so disappointed in this, because it had the makings of being something fucking dope. All of this stuff. And yeah, it didn't hit for me. It didn't. And that really fucking sucks. That sucks. So quick summary. We have Raylan, who comes back home to finish her college and to work on building her platform as a paranormal investigator. She has a YouTube channel where she studies the paranormal and she talks about it. We have Leon, who is a demon. Yeah, there's a demon in it too. Demon that is under control of the Hadleys, a well-known family in this town, Avalon. And he is in the town that Raylan's college is located at. Raylan's presence immediately triggers the Hadley's children, who are her age, to try to befriend her and bring her into their embrace, because there is a mission that the Hadleys are on. Because when Raylan enters this town, she sets off a chain reaction of an ancient deity that happened years ago. 3 people went down to a mining shaft collapsed, and 3 people came out. And that deed has to be repaid by the god that saved these 3 people. And so as soon as the Hadleys find out that Raylan is a Lawson, which is one of the 3 families that survived, they immediately want to befriend her because they have ulterior motives. Raylan is gifted a Grimoire by a friend of hers, and she uses it on her YouTube channel to try to spike interest. And she goes with the intention of not actually summoning a demon, but she accidentally summons a demon. And the demon happens to be Leon, which used to be the Hadley's demon, because the Grimoire used to be the Hadley's and has now gone missing. And that's where our story really kicks the fuck off. So, what worked? The original premise. This original premise, ancient gods need a sacrifice to replace the original deal that was made with the miners that were survived. The Hadley family is promised power if they can provide the 3 sacrifices from the 3 families, including their own. And they use a demon to collect the victims. They already have 1 sacrifice. They're going to make Raylan the second, and then obviously there's going to be a Hadley. There is an illegitimate child named Everly who is kind of slated to be that sacrifice. And in the process of this whole sacrificial collection, the demon falls in love with the sacrifice. I loved this plot. I thought this plot was fucking dope. I was like, fuck yes. And you throw all those fucking triggers into this, fantastic. That's the only thing that fucking worked in this book for me. That's it. The triggers and the original plot line. That's it. And that's really depressing. Really, really depressing. Because what worked was so much. There's so much that didn't work in this book for me. And I wanted to love this book, but I just don't. The first thing that doesn't work is the audiobook. I genuinely feel if I would have physically read this book, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because I did not like the narrators in this book. I did not have a good time with them. I didn't like the way they were voicing their characters. They just weren't conveying the emotion that I needed them to convey at these scenes. There would be scenes where the male narrator for Leon is literally screaming. It says he is shouting to Raylan. Oh my God, what is that? Okay, sorry. There was a thing. I don't know what it is. So he is in the house and Raylan's outside and he's shouting at her. And all it does is, Raylan. That's it. I'm sorry, if I'm shouting the fucking outside, I'm inside a goddamn house, I'm gonna be screaming at the top of my lungs, Raylan, get the fuck in here! Like, what the hell, man? This is bullshit. Like, it's Raylan. I'm Batman. Like, it's all I fucking thought about every time he fucking yelled was, I'm Batman. Because he does this stupid little, I fucking hated it. I hated it. Oh my God, I was so pissed. And I usually like the male narrators better than the females. I liked him a smidge more than I liked the female. I really feel like the audiobook failed me on this. And if I would have physically read it, I would have had a much better experience. I would have enjoyed it more. I wouldn't have been as annoyed reading this book. That's why I do plan on continuing with the series, but I'm going to be physically reading it because I've had luck with that. And hopefully the next installment will override some of this stuff that the audiobook brought to light for me, because I wasn't focused on the voices. I wasn't getting lost in the voices. So I could see all these other things that I just didn't like, such as the sex scenes. This book promised so much in the sex department. Oh my God, so much. There was so much said between the demon and Raylan about what he wanted to do. And there's one line in specific. He says, I want all of you. I want your cum. I want your piss. I want your shit. Everything, okay? He wants to try every single bodily fluid of hers. And it's in the fucking book saying this, okay? Saying it. We see none of that. Don't fucking write it if you're not going to actually give it to me. Don't do that to me. Not that I'm a really big onto scat scenes and shit like that. Like, I don't really look for that in books. I don't give a shit if it's in there. To each his own. But if you're going to say it, fucking do it. And he didn't fucking do it. He promised a lot and couldn't back it up, and that's fucking annoying. That's annoying, okay? It straight up is. During the sex scenes, the transitions were pretty much non-existent. There's a graveyard scene where she literally is described as laying on a tombstone with her head dangling off, and then all of a sudden she's flipped onto all fours and her face is in the ground. There was no transition. There was no talk of exiting her. There was nothing. It was just bam, bam. I'm like, the fuck, man? And on top of that, it's an audio, so I have to go back. And we all know, if you see my pet peeves video, this thing pisses me off. Stopping me reading and having to go check something out again, it fucking annoys me. So, huge fucking annoyance right there for some of the sex scenes. And it was like all of that for all of them. One time she's on all fours, and then she's on her back, and then she's on her knees. Like, when did you pick her the fuck up and put her there? When did you fucking do this? Because this is annoying as fuck. I saw one fucking transition that was clear cut, and it was her crawling to him because he walked away and said, you are going to suck my cock and enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she got on all fours and crawled. And because while she's crawling, he is literally calling her every fucking name in the fucking book. And that scene was great. That was a plus side. That was awesome because I got to fucking see it, but I got to see none of the other transitions in this fucking book, and it was annoying as fuck. Ugh. Also, all the sex scenes, the entire book are from the girl's perspective. Even the ones that are not benefiting her, they are for his enjoyment and his enjoyment alone. They are from her fucking perspective, and that pissed me off because the setup would be in his perspective. So I'd be getting the guy's voice. And I wasn't a big fan of the male narrator to begin with, but I was getting the setup, and there were some areas where I was like, okay, I like the kind of I like the gravel here. I like this, because during the seduction scenes, dude was on point during the seduction scenes, like straight up. Like he could convey that emotion, and he'd be doing the build-up, and we get to the start of it. But the actual like, super sexy wham bam thank you ma'am time, all from her perspective. Chapter would cut, go to the next fucking chapter, and it'd be the bitch's voice. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Every fucking scene, every one of them. There's not a single fucking sex scene in this book that is from his perspective, even the ones that were literally for his enjoyment only, and that's fucking it. Talking about, you're going to crawl on your knees and you're going to worship my cock. That was him saying that, and then it cuts to her dropping on her knees and how she's crawling across the floor, and then her version of what a guy sounds like, I'm hearing the degradation lines. I'm like, fuck that shit. That annoyed me to no end. Oh my God, I was fucking annoyed. No, did not like that, was not having it. Was not having that. Let's see, what else didn't work? Oh, the rushed ending in this book. The last 30 minutes of this audiobook felt so fucking fast because it was rushed, and then it was ended with the god looking like some Cthulhu-looking fucking knockoff. I'm like, what the fuck? You have, So your god is like this tentacle-looking, Cthulhu-looking thing, but all of his little minions are the Eld are like these skeletal deer mask things. I'm like, what? Is this because he can't go on land? Well, there's his fucking weakness. He can't go on land, so he needs his little army people to be the earth creatures that are skeletal. Like, I don't get it. It was so rushed. It was so fucking rushed. But there was a lot of detail in the Eld and the buildup and the spookiness factor in this. And then we get to the big baddie, and there's like, the what? It's so foggy. He's like a god. He looks beautiful, but when you get close and the image goes away, he looks like a giant fucking squid. Like, what? What? Depressing. Depressing. Another thing that didn't work was the grimoire. So in the book, it's made known, and it's said a lot of times, that the grimoire is so powerful that if you don't physically have it in your person, you will forget everything that you've seen. You can't recollect anything. It's that powerful to affect you when it's not even around you. You've only been in contact with it, okay? So that would tell me that this is like a legit grimoire. This is pretty, important. When Raylan gets it and she goes into this church to do a faux demon summonsing to attract more viewers on her channel because, she's losing interest with other people having clickbait. She draws like the circle, and she makes sure the circle is perfect with all the translation, the Latin transition, the Latin words. Everything is spot on. Everything's perfect to make it work. Okay. Except she reads the shit in English and then accidentally cuts herself, which gives the blood component, okay? That's how the demon is summoned. She accidentally cuts herself. Except if the grimoire is so strong that it can affect someone when it's not even in its presence, how the fuck is an English translation from Latin going to make it fucking work? If everything else has to be perfect, how can you read it in English and it still work? I felt was, it's not a very big point, but it was an annoying point to me. I'm just like, The benefit to that scene was that she was even shocked that it worked to begin with, because she's like, I read it in English. I didn't think it was actually going to work. Well, it fucking did. But I would have thought the same fucking thing. Like, if it's not in the actual language it was written in, how the fuck is it going to work? Because according to the book, the grimoire was created before the English language was. So, yeah. I don't know. Magical realism. That's magical realism for you in books. The last point that didn't really work for me was Raylan herself as the character, the heroine herself. I did not like her. I didn't. She was the stereotypical emo paranormal chick. Down to her fucking dress. Down to the way she dressed. There was no originality to her at all. I found nothing of value to her at all. None. She was constantly, okay, she's a paranormal investigator. She's looking for the paranormal. She believes in the paranormal. She wants to show proof of the paranormal. She has a whole fucking channel talking about the paranormal life, okay? But the entirety of the book, she is trying to logically justify what she is seeing, and what she is seeing is really fucking happening. She really saw a dude just materialize out of thin fucking air, and she's like, oh, it's a prank. It's a prank. You're just doing it because you don't like me. He met you one fucking time, bitch. You really think he gives that big of a fuck about you to make a prank that elaborate? No. Really fucking summon a demon because you're dumb. Because you were playing with shit that you didn't quite fucking understand, all right? No, you don't play with that shit unless you actually understand it. And obviously you fucking don't. So quit playing, all right? And on top of that, that whole fucking scene of summoning was a complete sellout. She didn't want people to she wanted to be authentic. And she even says, any paranormal investigator with their salt would know that this is a bad idea. But I need the views or I can't keep this going. Bitch, what the fuck? What in the absolute fuck? Oh my God. I found no redeemable characteristics in her. And I don't really understand why Leon fell for her, except for this, like, almost felt like a fated thing, but there was no fate discussion. It was that fast. It wasn't like, because he's had lovers before, but he was drawn to her. But he never really explained why. I found nothing. Nothing of redeemable quality about her. So the cool thing about this series, though, is that the second and third book do not follow the same couple. There is a HEA at the end of this. And so the other two books are following other couples that we met in this. So I never have to see her again, theoretically, at least in the main aspect. So I am looking forward to that. However, for the spice rating, I did give this 4 chili peppers because this thing was hot. Even though I wasn't a big fan of the sex scenes, there was a lot of good shit in it. Dominant and submissive languages with C and C scenes, lots of those. Those were great. If you like over-the-top play acting in your C and C scenes, you will enjoy this. This is not a real, I wouldn't say this was rape fantasy, because it's very clear that he's like, what's your safe word? And she says mercy. And then there are scenes where like, oh no, please stop. And that's how the author, not the author, the narrator sounds. It wasn't like legit, like, no, please stop. Please don't do this to me. It was, no, please don't stop. Please stop. Please don't do this. Oh, okay. It's the high-pitched fucking annoying shit. Yeah, so, yeah, there was C&C with over-the-top acting involved, play acting. We did see oral sex from both male and female perspectives, which was dope. Not speaking, but we actually physically got to see a female perform oral sex and a male perform oral sex, which was kind of nice. And I really did enjoy the line from Leon where he's constantly like, have you not learned to not wear panties around me? Because I just tear him to shreds. Like, stop fucking wearing this shit. Because he gets so tired of all the clothes that she wears, and he comments on it. And I thought that was kind of cute. There was a sexualized piercing scene, which was kind of unique. That was probably one of the most unique moments in this book for me because I've never read one of those before. Very intense. She gets her nipples pierced, and that's kind of his marking of her, but she's doing some other stuff while it's happening. So I, the entire time, was kind of like, ooh, yeah, that's just probably not the safest way to do it. I mean, power to you that you can do this, because I've known people to do this exact scene. I've actually known people to do like sexualized piercing in their kind of their bedroom kink, and the piercing stays. So it is doable, but the actual idea of it, because I've had piercings before, I'm just kind of like, I would not want to be doing that act while having that done. You can get fucked. No, but to each his own. We did see some anal prep for some anal scenes, which was nice, but we didn't see a lot of it. And I feel like there should have been more for the amount that we were getting. There should have been some more preparation involved, I feel like, because that was really, really fast for someone who's never done it before. Like, damn. Ow. And honestly, all the sex scenes were set up to have genuine fear and genuine intensity. They were set up to deliver that. But once the scene actually started, all of that fear started to look really fucking fake. Like, I don't know how she did this. She set it up to look so real and so authentic. And then in the actual scene, it became the fake stuff. It's like, just follow through. You already had me hooked in this prep scene of this fear and this scary element. I mean, she's fucking a demon, okay? It's not gonna be fucking sweet. It's a fucking demon. Come on. It's a demon. I expect the fear in this. Don't take it away from me. And you did every fucking time. That was annoying. That was irritating. I gave this 2 stars. However, I do plan on continuing with this series because I feel like I picked up a lot of these things because I was physically listening to the book and the narrators were bothering me. So to keep going, I had to focus on other things. when I'm physically reading a book, I have to create the voices in my head. So part of my energy is creating that dialogue with them, and it's usually the overarching things that blare and stick out to me. I can find some of the nitty gritty stuff during Audible books because I don't have to create the voices. It is one of the downsides of listening to audiobooks when I'm critiquing them. Audiobooks tend to get a little harsher critique because I'm doing less work. I don't know if that's the same way for you guys, but yeah. The last book but I do plan on continuing the series, but I'm going to physically be reading it next time and seeing if some of these issues, I'll be looking for these issues, but seeing if they are alleviated or corrected, and see if my interpretation of what the characters sound like alleviates some of the weird nuances that I was given in this book. So anyway, but my fourth book was A Witch's Lament by Kathy Walker. It looks like this. This was the first installment for the Salem Witch trilogy. I read this for the Black Hat Book Coven. This was our first book for our new book club that I am doing along with Becky over at Beck X Reads, Kaylani at Kaylani Simply Me, and Laura at A Book Circus. I'll link them down below. We will be having a live show on August 27th, I think. I think it's the 27th. Or it's the 29th. I want to say it's the 27th. Yes, 27th. On my channel, we'll be discussing this book along with the book for the month of August as well. Quick little bit about this one. We do feature blood and gore, magical realism. There is some historical fictional elements in this story. Fade to black scenes all over the fucking place. And pagan and Wiccan religious practices. Just a quick summary. Skye buys a house on a whim in Salem that she feels drawn to. And her first night, she finds a 30-year-old skeleton that just so happens to be the deceased mother of Salem's primary detective, Jerome. After that, a chain of events that started back in 1692 during the Salem witch trials restarts, starts up all over again. And our hero and heroine both get put on a mission. The mission to discover a mother's murderer, and our heroine is sent on a mission to discover this dagger here that contains souls. All of these, which started the mother's murder, happened 30 years ago. This happened back in 1692. And these missions eventually intersect in a very bloody, scarring twist ending that is resolved with an HEA, but there are 2 more installments in this series that focus on 2 other couples that we met in this story. We didn't meet, we met one half of the second couple in this story. So what worked? This thing came out swinging. And when I mean come out swinging, I mean it came out slashing and gashing. The first 5 pages is a fucking sacrificial murder scene. And I read that, I was like, whoa, okay. Well, all right. Somebody woke up and chose violence this morning. That's fine. Let's do this. Party. Yay. So I thought, okay, I got something good here. It's already hooked me. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then we get into its original plot line, which did work. This original concept of solving this murder of 30 years ago, and this age-old mission that's a familiar responsibility being bestowed on this woman, and she has no idea about it, and trying to find that element. I really did enjoy the twists in this story. I felt that the twists help deepen the story and give it some more meat, as well as it allowed more connectivity with our characters, which the fact that I had to rely on a twist to deepen connectivity was kind of annoying, but it did give me something else to connect these 2 people together other than just, being the same proximity. And I like the idea of this historical possession element that was threaded through this. I thought that was kind of dope because I'm a history person and I love the Salem witch trials, so I thought that was kind of a unique take on it. I did find that this was kind of a unique take on the Salem witch trials through that historical possession, that it did carry over, that it was not just a he said, she said witch hunt, that there might have been real substance to the witch trials. And I thought that was kind of unique. I've seen other books do that, where the Salem witch trials was really actually, they were witches and some of them got away. I've seen this before, but I did enjoy it in this book. I thought that was kind of fun. But that's about what worked ended. Because what didn't work was the world building. There was absolutely no fucking setup for this. None. The author relied on the fact that Salem is a real place, that many people have visited it. Everybody studies the Salem witch trials at some point in time in their life if they went to an American school, that they have gone over it. She relied heavily on the fact that you already knew a lot going into this book about Salem. And yes, I know a lot about Salem because I studied it. I have never personally been to Salem, but Becky has been to Salem, and she was able to let us know that there were some places there that mentioned that really did exist, which is kind of cool. But you, as the reader, were expected to already know a lot of these facts, and the context was not really given. Like, this world building, magic is real in this world, and it's accepted in this world. But we aren't really for sure why, because Salem actually did happen. It was real, and it was carried through. And none of that was actually given unless you start to infer it by the end of the book. You actually figure that out. But it would have been beneficial to know that at the beginning, because a lot more shit would have made more sense. Just saying. It just relied a lot on previously known knowledge of Salem, and I don't like books like that, because if you don't have it, you're going to miss out on all this book. If you are going to write a book that requires you to know previous knowledge, you are severely cutting your audience in half. You need to give the context that is necessary for your book, and she did not give enough of that Salem history, that modern day Salem look of the world she was creating. She did not give enough context of it to make this work. The connection between characters, a lot of times I felt like they were just put in the same place, and that was their connection. That was like their only connection is because they happen to be the same proximity. That's not a connection. That's just you inhabiting the same space. That's not connection at all. I feel like this was set up to be an enemies to lovers, but it was set up to be very wishy-washy enemies to lovers, because it wasn't done very well. The connection between our hero and heroine was damn near non-existent until a specific twist happened that relied on history that you needed to know. That was a brief synopsis given, and it was not enough to really justify that fucking connection. That was built on it. I happened to know it because I knew the history, so I understood where that connection came from. But if you did not know that history, the extra piece of history that was neglected and being put in this book, that strength of a connection would be very, very weak. So that was really annoying. And a lot of the other connections between other characters felt very, very forced and just, they just felt forced. Every connection in this book felt forced until I started getting some of the twists and we started seeing how people cross paths, which did alleviate some of that forced feel. But it wasn't until the very end. I mean, the big twist happens at like the last chapter. So you're like, I feel forced the entire time, and now I'm supposed to feel release. And the payoff was not enough for that release. It wasn't. The common sense practice is being overlooked. So we have a murder mystery thriller here. Okay, we do. And the murder mystery happens to be the mother of the lead detective in this town. Okay, town of Salem, lead detective. There's no fucking police department that would let him research his own mother's murder. I don't care how fucking old it is. It would never happen. His commanding officer would take him all quicker than fucking shit, all right? Quicker than you could blink. And he tried. And he's like, well, you're gonna do it anyway. No, you're not gonna fucking do it. Period. You're not. I catch you doing this, you're out of a fucking job. Like, that would... Common sense practices, okay? Common sense practices. Yes, there is magical realism in this because there's a diary that's found from 1692 that in the conditions it was kept would have disintegrated, and it would not be as legible, and it would not be as, firm. So yeah, there was some magical realism, but still I was kind of like, in 30 years, nobody found this. Nobody. The house has been vacant for 30 years, and kids have gone in there like haunted houses, and it always, weird things have happened, but they never, it's just, the believability of that, even though there is magical realism, that just bothered me. It just bothered me. The romance, if you can call whatever that romance was a romance, was very forced. Again, another forced connection that didn't even need to be there. Like, you could have taken the romance out and I would have given a shit. I probably would have enjoyed this book a little bit more had they not ended up together. and there not been some kind of, you know, pull them, like acknowledge some attraction, sure. Give me that. That's fine. You know, hey, he's kind of hot. Hey, she's kind of pretty. You know, cool, whatever. But you're trying to force something that didn't need to exist because the entire book thought she had something to do with his mother's murder. She just moved in 2 days ago, and you think she had something to do with a 30-year-old murder? Maybe her mother did. You can have those feelings about her mother, but not her. Like, that's fucking another common sense thing. Like, how did you get your fucking job? How did you get your job, dude? Really? If that's how you... No. No. So this enemies to lovers, wishy-washy, forced romance thing, I wasn't... I would have been better if the romance hadn't even existed, to be perfectly honest. And as for a spice rating, this thing got a steam puff. We get a fade to black scene. We get a forced, random, awkward kiss that kind of comes out of nowhere. Didn't really quite understand why that was fucking there. And there was some tension, but there wasn't really any real follow-through. This book had a lot of promise. It had a lot of potential, but lacked a lot of follow-through. A lot of my books in the week 30 wrap-up were a little depressing. They just kind of were. And they were all supposed to be really good. So that sucks. But sometimes you have weeks like that, guys. Not everything's a hit. And so even though the non-hits still deserve to be talked about because even though they weren't hits for me, they might be hits for somebody else. I know Harley LaRoe has a diehard fan base. And I have a couple of other books that I've wanted to check out from her. So I still plan on picking up other works of her because I'm going to try. Like, I'm going to keep giving people chances. It takes me a lot to give up on authors and complete series. It takes a lot. And none of these books were completely like, no, I'm never going to pick up this author again. But I might wait a while. For sure. But that's what I got for you guys for week 30. And I will see you all soon with week 31, which is August or July 30th through August 5th. You'll see that very, very soon. But until then, I will see you guys all soon with another... Oh, no. Since this is going up on weekly wrap-up, I will not see you just right now. I'm going to let you know what video was elected for the video choice of the month. I did a poll on my community tab, and the winner is of the video you guys like to see. Let's check it out because I haven't even looked at it yet. Let's find out. Here we go. So the winner is, with 50% of the votes, reacting to negative reviews of my favorite books. That's gonna be fun. I will see you guys all soon now with another video. Bye.